Chapter 536 Outrage. Chapter 536 Outrage. The breach which allowed two demonic beasts to enter simultaneously was currently their biggest source of trouble. While they were busy fighting with the demonic beasts, quite a lot of demonic beasts had swarmed through the breach. Fortunately, not too many demonic beasts had gathered in the zone number 14. Otherwise, thousands of demonic beasts could have rushed into the formation in the blink of an eye. While Jian Wushuang was in deep thought, suddenly, "Oh, damn!" someone suddenly shouted in a panic, causing the human sergeants to immediately turn and look at the breach. They could see through the formation that a stream of countless demonic beasts had arrived and dozens of demonic beasts had broken into the battlefield through the breach in a second. Those demonic beasts were extremely powerful. Even the weakest ones were rank 7 monsters. There were even more than a dozen rank 8 monsters. They're demonic beast reinforcements. Oh, no. This is going to be big trouble. The sergeants of the human camp became astonished at this scene. Once the demonic beasts broke through into the battlefield, the human sergeants near the breach immediately began to suffer. "No. We'll die." The miserable shouts from human sergeants in the two squads guarding near the breach were heard. Both squads belonged to the 7th Army. One squad was led by Jin Ling and the other one was the 3rd squad, which was supposed to take over guarding Sky Solitude Mountains from Jian Wushuang's squad. The two squads had planned to block the breach. Nevertheless, as the powerful demonic beasts began swarming into the formation, it was all they could do to save their own lives now. Dozens of sergeants had been killed by the demonic beasts that had charged through. But, even the remaining sergeants were still in danger. Go to save them," Fang Han roared. The other sergeants also understood why Fang Han was so anxious. The two squads were in the middle of a terrible situation. Once the powerful demonic beasts entered the battlefield, they started to attack the two squads. Countless demonic beasts followed them and had completely encircled the two squads. Without any reinforcements, the two squads would be killed in only a few breaths. 10th squad, follow me." Jian Wushuang waved his hand and the sergeants behind him followed, charging towards the demonic beasts without hesitation. Jian Wushuang had a personal grudge against Jin Ling. However, in the face of this crisis, all human sergeants chose to fight against the demonic beasts together. Jian Wushuang would naturally ignore his personal grudge for the moment. Not to mention, Jin Ling was not the only one in danger. Die. Jian Wushuang held the triple kill sword in his hand, instantly releasing the sword essence and causing it to permeate the area. It was a silent sword move. A silent sword shadow flashed with a dazzling light and a realm which seemed like it could exterminate everything. The sword shadow glided through the area, leaving behind a sword river in its wake. It was the 4th move of the heart-killing sword technique, Sheer Shadow. The violent sword shadow directly hacked towards the 3 rank 8 monsters that were out in front. They also counterattacked. Bang! The 3 demonic beasts were knocked back by the violent clash, while Jian Wushuang also retreated several steps. The sergeants behind Jian Wushuang also pounced on the other demonic beasts. With the support of Jian Wushuang and his squad, the 3rd squad, which had fallen into despair, found an opportunity and struggled out from the encirclement of the demonic beasts. However, Jin Ling and his squad were still in the middle of a crisis. "Brother Wushuang, let's cooperate and save them," the leader of the 3rd squad said. "Okay," Jian Wushuang nodded. The two squads, with Jian Wushuang acting as the spearhead, attacked the demonic beasts violently and finally tore out a path to life for Jin Ling and his sergeants. "Rush out." Jin Ling growled and immediately seized the opportunity to break free from the encirclement. "Jin Ling, cooperate with us, quickly. Let's stop these demonic beasts." Seeing Jin Ling leaving, the leader of the 3rd squad shouted to him. "Cooperate?" Jin Ling's eyes were full of resentment. He glanced at Jian Wushuang behind him and looked at the swarming demonic beasts like wasps in front of him. His face became even more gloomy. "Run! Run! Run! Fast!" Jin Ling growled in a shrill voice and then fled directly to the rear without hesitation. His sergeants obeyed his command unconsciously and also fled frantically to the rear. All of the human sergeants were angry after seeing this. The sergeants of the 3rd and 10th squads were especially outraged. Jinling, what are you doing? Fang Han also yelled. Everyone was outraged by Jinling's action. When he had been in crisis, Jian Wushuang had immediately led his squad to save him and cooperated with the 3rd squad to cut a path from the demonic beast group so that he could escape. To rescue him, the 2 squads chose to fight with the numerous demonic beasts. Jin Ling should have cooperated with the other 2 squads so that the 3 squads could have a better opportunity to survive. On the contrary, Jin Ling chose to flee while ignoring the sergeants who had rescued him. How could he ignore those who had fallen into a dangerous situation in order to save his life? Selfish, shameless, ungrateful bastard, the leader of the 3rd squad shouted angrily. This bastard, son of B-. The sergeants of the 10th and 3rd squad also could not help swearing. However, Jin Ling didn't pay any attention to them. He was scared to death because he had almost died in the encirclement of the demonic beasts. At this moment, he only wanted to run for his life. He did not give a damn about anything else. What's more, Jian Wushuang was also in danger now. Jian Wushuang, aren't you impressive? I can't wait to see whether you'll live or die. Jin Ling even took a kind of dark pleasure in it. Chapter 537 Outbursts. Chapter 537 Outbursts. Obviously, no one had expected Jin Ling's action. Even the sergeants in his squad, who had unconsciously obeyed his command to flee, realized what they were doing a moment later. Leader, how can we do this? They rescued us. How can we run away and abandon them? Leader. The sergeants stopped one by one. Some even turned back and ran towards Jian Wushuang and other sergeants, ready to fight against the demonic beasts with them. Run, run. Jin Ling ignored them and still fled desperately. This bastard. Qing Hua swore. The sergeants of the 10th and 3rd squad were also surprised and angry. Brother Wushuang, what should we do now? The leader of the 3rd squad looked toward Jian Wushuang. Try to survive, Jian Wushuang answered calmly. Howl, howl, howl. Numerous demonic beasts, led by Mo Wu, who was covered with dark purple scales, roared and rushed toward Jian Wushuang and the other sergeants. Most of the demonic beasts had just swarmed into the battlefield. In an instant, thousands of demonic beasts had managed to pass through the breach. Most importantly, these demonic beasts were extremely strong, including dozens of rank 8 monsters and hundreds of rank 7 monsters. This terrifying swarm of demonic beast rushed toward Jian Wushuang and the other sergeants. Go rescue them, Fang Han called out in a shrill voice. He was the first one to rush toward Jian Wushuang. The whole 7th Army, as well as many sergeants of the 6th Army, also ran towards Jian Wushuang. Everyone wanted to rescue them, except Jin Ling, who was eager to run away. Jian Wushuang, die in peace, Jin Ling whispered with a gloomy look. He turned back to look at the battlefield as he fled. A swarm of demonic beasts had already flooded the area where Jian Wushuang and the others were. Right then. Buzz. A terrible sword essence, which was strong enough to shake the entire area, suddenly burst forth. In the center of the demonic beast's encirclement, a golden figure began to grow at an alarming rate. A golden spectral image rose from behind Jian Wushuang and instantly grew to a full height of 60 meters. Sword Soul Phantom. The strongest Sword Soul Phantom. It was the first time that Jian Wushuang had used the Sword Soul Phantom since he arrived on the monster continent. The 60-meter-tall Sword Soul Phantom, which released a supreme sword essence, stood in the sky like a noble sword master. What's that? The sergeants, as well as the demonic beasts, raised their heads and watched the golden Sword Soul Phantom in confusion. Jian Wushuang, who stood under the Sword Soul Phantom, released his Sword Soul power. Get the hell out of my way. With a wave of his hand, Jian Wushuang swung the triple-kill sword while releasing a vast and mighty power. The golden Sword Soul Phantom also swung the long sword at the same time. A huge bright sword light suddenly appeared and swept the surrounding area. Whoosh! The overwhelming sword light swept away the demonic beasts which were fiercely killing in the area around Jian Wushuang. Although these demonic beasts used powerful moves and other means to resist, the sword power was too earth-shaking. Kai, 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 Kai. The sword edge glided past the demonic beasts which were going to attack Jian Wushuang and the others, causing the demonic beasts to suddenly halt. They stopped in mid-air, unexpectedly. Space and time froze. All of a sudden, dozens of demonic beasts fell down without any sign of a struggle. The whole battlefield fell into a brief silence. Everyone on the battlefield, including the demonic beasts, who looked at this scene were stunned. Jian Wushuang killed dozens of demonic beasts with a single sword move. Included in this count was a rank 8 monster and 6 rank 7 monsters. His battle strength. What? How's this possible? The human sergeants in the surrounding area were flabbergasted by the sight of this. The demonic beasts which had been attacking frantically were also astonished. So powerful? Mo Wu also looked at Jian Wushuang and said, though he's not a divine emperor, he's definitely a heaven-defying second-grade divine general. In terms of battle strength, he isn't weaker than an ordinary human divine emperor. Damn it. How did such a strong expert appear among these humans? Jian Wushuang was currently the center of attention as he fought with a face full of killing intent and an extremely cold look in his eyes. Kill, he said coldly. As his killing intent soared, the supreme sword essence of the golden sword Soul Phantom also skyrocketed. At this moment, he stepped forward and the long sword swept through the surrounding area once again. The 6 demonic beasts in front of him were his targets. The 6 rank 7 monsters tried to resist. Nevertheless, when the sword arrived, their auras were instantly extinguished while their eyes were still wide open. He instantly killed 6 rank 7 monsters with a single sword strike again. The demonic beasts which had been violently attacking moments ago could not help trembling because of his terrifying strength and overwhelming killing intent. They quickly halted while being completely astonished by Jian Wushuang. Mo Wu, the leader of the demonic beasts, glanced at Jian Wushuang in horror. He then snorted and said, "He's the only strong one. Leave him alone. Go kill the other humans." Howl. The demonic beasts roared in response, then immediately turned to attack the other sergeants. How can this be? Jin Ling had been watching from the rear as the situation unfolded. He thought that Jian Wushuang would definitely die, so he had never expected to see Jian Wushuang suddenly burst forth with an overwhelming power and force the demonic beasts to retreat. Bastard, how can you still be alive? Jin Ling's eyes glazed over with resentment. At this moment, howl. A demonic beast appeared in the front of Jin Ling. It was a rank 8 monster which had entered the formation much earlier, and it was preventing Jin Ling from escaping. What's worse, several demonic beasts also ran toward him after avoiding Jian Wushuang. Soon, several demonic beasts appeared behind Jin Ling and began to directly attack him. Oh no! Jin Ling's expression darkened. The converging attack of the strong demonic beasts forced him into a critical situation once again. Chapter 538 Jian Wushuang, you did not save my life. Chapter 538 Jian Wushuang, you did not save my life. On the battlefield, the fierce battle continued. Jian Wushuang held his heart-killing sword tightly and activated the Blood River realm while the 60-meter-tall golden sword Soul Phantom emanated a mighty aura. He slaughtered the demonic beasts with his sword alone. Wherever he went, the demonic beasts tried to dodge him, daring not to fight against him. Brother Wushuang, good job. Leader, I love you. Qing Hua and the leader of the 3rd squad, as well as the other sergeants, were ecstatic and excited. They had prepared to fight to the death after being abandoned by Jin Ling. Nobody had expected Jian Wushuang to suddenly burst out at this critical moment and alleviate their burden on his own. They were still being attacked by the demonic beasts, but it was not as intense as before. Therefore, it became easier for them to counterattack. Be careful, Jian Wushuang reminded them. He turned to look at the breach that was closest to them. Too many demonic beasts had made it into the formation. Most importantly, an endless swarm of demonic beasts was still surging into the formation through the breach. If the breach was not blocked, the number of demonic beasts would only continue to increase. We have to block the breach. Jian Wushuang focused his eyes on the breach. Take care of yourselves. I'm going to block the breach, Jian Wushuang said to Qing Hua before rushing to the breach. He had just taken a few steps when he suddenly heard urgent and crazy shouts from nearby. "Get out of my way! Damn it! Go die!" Hearing that, Jian Wushuang turned to look. He narrowed his eyes at the scene that was taking place in front of him. Jin Ling, who had fled earlier, became the target of some demonic beasts. He was currently encircled by 4 demonic beasts, 2 that were rank 8 monsters with the other 2 being rank 7 monsters. He was in a terrible situation. Jin Ling also saw Jian Wushuang at this time. His eyes immediately lit up. "Jian Wushuang, help me quickly," he shouted with anxiety. Though he was also a second-grade divine general, he had not experienced many dangerous situations because he was the son of Emperor Golden Snake. He had been extremely scared when he was encircled by the demonic beasts before. Even now, he was only surrounded by 4 demonic beasts, but he still had no confidence in defeating them and could not display his full strength. In fact, as long as he was careful, it would not be easy for the demonic beasts to kill him. "Come save me!" Jin Ling roared when he saw that Jian Wushuang had no intention to help him. "Save you?" Jian Wushuang cast a cold glance at Jin Ling and turned to head for the breach. "Bastard! You're leaving me to die!" Jin Ling's angry shouts were heard all over the battlefield. The other sergeants heard Jin Ling's angry roars, but they just cast a cold glance towards him. Even the sergeants under the command of Jin Ling remained indifferent. They clearly saw what happened earlier. Jian Wushuang had selflessly saved Jin Ling's life, but what did he get in return? Did he really expect Jian Wushuang to save him again? Did he think Jian Wushuang was a fool? The farmer got bitten by the snake after saving it. "I won't allow it to happen again," Jian Wushuang murmured. Jin Ling was no different from a poisonous snake. Jian Wushuang had no intent to save Jin Ling. The other sergeants that were nearby also gave him the cold shoulder. As the commander and someone who knew Jin Ling's identity, Fang Han hesitated for a moment. However, he was facing 2 rank 8 monsters at the moment and he had not completely recovered from his wounds. Even if he wanted to save him, he could not. "Bastard! Bastard! No, no!" Jin Ling's shrill voice continuously echoed throughout the battlefield. He was struggling desperately while surrounded by 4 demonic beasts, but when 2 more rank 7 monsters joined to attack him, he was completely overcome with despair. That despair gradually turned into madness and resentment. "Jian Wushuang! Jian Wushuang! It's all because of you. You left me to die. Just wait. If I die, you won't be able to live either." He roared hysterically as a demonic beast opened its mouth and directly bit off his left arm. Jin Ling knew he was doomed, so he took out a messaging slip with his right hand and broke it. His voice, filled with endless resentment, was passed on through the slip. "Father, I'm going to die. It's Jian Wushuang's fault. He left me to die. Get revenge for me. Kill him for me." The battlefield reverberated with his crazy voice that was full of endless resentment. The sergeants were astonished. They saw a rank 8 monster suddenly slash its sharp claw on Jin Ling's head, making it burst like a watermelon. Jin Ling died in an instant. Though he was dead, his words had been passed through the messaging slip. Jian Wushuang, who was rushing toward the breach, heard his words clearly. He narrowed his eyes slightly, but he did not pay much attention to it. Boom! Jian Wushuang arrived at the breach like a pitilessly sharp sword. With a wave of his sword, he instantly killed 2 demonic beasts that had just passed through the breach. For the remaining time, he stood at the breach. The demonic beasts outside were eager to rush into the battlefield, but only 2 demonic beasts could pass through the breach simultaneously and he could kill 2 demonic beasts without effort. Therefore, Jian Wushuang completely blocked the breach by himself. None of the demonic beasts were able to break through his defense and enter the battlefield. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Not far away, several flowing lights swiftly arrived. They were human sergeants coming to support them. Reinforcements are coming. The sergeants of the 7th Army and 6th Army were overjoyed. They immediately joined forces with the reinforcements and killed the demonic beasts that still remained on the battlefield. The situation immediately became stable. In zone number 14, the human camp had gained the absolute advantage. Chapter 539, The Tragic Result. Chapter 539, The Tragic Result. Every inch of the Skyfire Plains had become a battlefield. Countless demonic beasts were fighting frantically with sergeants of the East Camp, resulting in a battle that was both miserable and tragic. After over half a day, the short man, who was surrounded by many demonic beasts outside the front battlefield, finally ordered them to retreat. The demonic beasts immediately responded. They stopped attacking and turned around, retreating towards the demonic beast territory. This tragic war, which was considered a rare event, even in the entirety of the humans' recorded history, finally came to an end. The sergeants of the East Camp and the top experts all gathered at the front battlefield. They finally retreated. East Camp has suffered a serious loss. But we killed more demonic beast. The generals were discussing everything that had happened. A fierce war had also broken out on the front battlefield, and these generals, as well as the 2 temple masters, had participated in the fight and killed a large number of demonic beasts. However, traces of exhaustion could be seen on their foreheads. Among the generals, there was a skinny middle-aged man whose eyes were as sharp as a snake. He wore a golden robe and had a rather forbidding and gloomy demeanor. He was Emperor Golden Snake, one of the 108 divine emperors of the Monster Exterminating League. These demonic beasts were indeed crazy. Emperor Golden Snake looked around. Countless demonic beasts had died on the battlefield and their blood had soaked into the ground. Oh, Lingus message. Emperor Golden Snake suddenly recalled something and took out a messaging slip. He had received Jin Ling's message earlier. However, he had been fighting, so he did not check the message until now. He immediately heard a voice full of hysteria and endless resentment. "Father, I'm going to die. It's Jian Wushuang's fault. He left me to die. Get revenge for me. Kill him for me." The voice echoed in Emperor Golden Snake's ears for a long time after the messaging slip burst. Emperor Golden Snake stood there for a while, his eyes empty and his head locked in a daze. "Dead. Linger is dead," he murmured, but his face gradually became distorted and horrifying. "Jian Wushuang." He gnashed his teeth in anger while saying those words. An overwhelming killing intent rose from him as he rushed toward Zone Number 14, where Jian Wushuang was. Some generals around noticed this scene. What happened to Golden Snake? What a strong killing intent. But nothing happened to him just now. Did someone important to him die? The generals were confused. Let me go check it out. This war has only just ended and East Camp suffered a heavy loss. I hope there are no more accidents, a black-clothed elder said. He then followed Emperor Golden Snake and left. He was the general who had shown up when Jian Wushuang fought Fang Han in the 7th Army campsite. At that time, Jian Wushuang, Fang Han, and the other sergeants had realized that he favored Jian Wushuang to some extent. Zone Number 14. The demonic beasts outside the formation were retreating. Most of the ones in the formation had been killed by the sergeants. Are they finally retreating? Seeing the demonic beasts leaving, Jian Wushuang sighed in relief. Under his feet, the demonic beasts' bodies had piled up, forming a mountain. These demonic beasts had tried to enter the battlefield through the breach, but they were killed by Jian Wushuang as soon as they stepped through the breach. He had killed hundreds of demonic beasts at the breach during this period of time. The sergeants began to clean up the battlefield. This battlefield was like a huge treasure. After all, during the fierce battle, the sergeants did not always have time to grab the monster cores before the demonic beasts' bodies fell to the ground. Also, some of the sergeants died, and their interspatial rings also fell to the ground with them. The ground of this battlefield was priceless in a sense. "Brother Wushuang," Qinghua walked over to Jian Wushuang. His face was a little pale, so it was obvious that he had also been heavily wounded during the battle. "How was your harvest?" Jian Wushuang asked. "Not bad. After we clean up the battlefield, the commander will distribute the monster cores according to everyone's position and contribution. We'll get more monster cores at that time, so it's quite a big harvest," Qinghua said. Qinghua should have felt happy for the harvest. However, he, as well as the other sergeants, could not feel happy. Too miserable, Qinghua shook his head and replied. Shuehu, Shashan, Gongsun Yang. They all died. Qinghua mentioned several names. They were sergeants in Jian Wushuang's squad, including some team leaders. They had been killed by demonic beasts during the battle. In the 10th squad, only about 40 of the 100 sergeants survived, but even they were seriously wounded. That was not the worst part though. Some of the squads in the 7th Army had been completely wiped out. Only about 10% of the sergeants in the 6th Army had survived. It was utterly miserable. This is the war between humans and demonic beast. No wonder that humans on Monster Continent hate the demonic beasts so much, Jian Wushuang thought. The war was started by the demonic beasts. The humans could only hide in the formation and resist them. Every time, a large number of sergeants would die in battle. However, they had no ability to counterattack. After all, they were too weak when compared to the demonic beast. While Jian Wushuang was in deep thought, suddenly, boom! In the distance, a man with a mighty killing intent appeared, and he was rushing here at an alarming rate. The overwhelming killing intent swept through the area before he even arrived. This is. All of the sergeants in zone number 14 raised their heads to look at that man. Fang Han's eyes narrowed because he had recognized that man. Emperor Golden Snake. Chapter 540 Emperor Golden Snake. Chapter 540 Emperor Golden Snake. Emperor Golden Snake. Fang Han's words caused a stir on the battlefield. Everyone could not help looking at Jian Wushuang. Brother Wushuang, Qinghua looked at Jian Wushuang with concern. They had clearly heard Jin Ling's message before he died, so they knew why Emperor Golden Snake was here. Is he coming? Contrary to these sergeants, Jian Wushuang remained calm. Whoosh! Emperor Golden Snake was as fast as lightning. He appeared in the air above the battlefield in a moment, overlooking them with his scarlet-colored eyes. Numerous bodies lay on the ground. Most were demonic beasts, but there were also many human bodies. Emperor Golden Snake quickly discovered Jin Ling's body, which was under a dead demonic beast. He vanished and reappeared beside Jin Ling. With a wave of his hand, he crushed the demonic beast's body into pieces. Then he bent down to lift Jin Ling's body slowly. Linger. Emperor Golden Snake's voice was cold, but his body was trembling slightly. The sergeants frowned as they looked on. In their opinion, Jin Ling deserved his death. However, they could understand Emperor Golden Snake's pain as a father. Emperor Golden Snake, Fang Han walked towards Emperor Golden Snake, trying to say something. Get out of my way, Emperor Golden Snake yelled. His mighty killing intent swept over the area in an instant. Fang Han, who had already been seriously injured, lost his balance and stepped backward as a mouthful of blood gushed from him. Boom! The killing intent spread around Emperor Golden Snake like a tide. With a wave of his hand, Emperor Golden Snake stored Jin Ling's body in his interspatial ring. He slowly stood up. His mighty and formidable killing intent soared again and was surged out like a landslide or a tsunami. The entire area became still and the air started to freeze. His eyes were full of overwhelming killing intent as he looked at the sergeants around him. Who is Jian Wushuang? Emperor Golden Snake asked, word by word, in a freezing cold tone. Being oppressed by his mighty killing intent, the sergeants could not help trembling. They looked at Jian Wushuang unconsciously. Emperor Golden Snake turned to look at Jian Wushuang. Is it you? Emperor Golden Snake stared at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang knew that he could not hide, and he did not want to either. He took a deep breath and stepped forward. I'm Jian Wushuang. May I ask what you want, Emperor Golden Snake? Jian Wushuang, with the triple kill sword sheathed on his back, stood straight like a vigorous pine and looked straight at Emperor Golden Snake without any fear. The sergeants were full of respect towards him as they watched this scene. In the face of a divine emperor who might kill him at any time, Jian Wushuang still remained calm. His boldness impressed the sergeants, as well as Fang Han. Linger died. Emperor Golden Snake stared at Jian Wushuang. Yes, Jian Wushuang slightly nodded. He did not dodge Emperor Golden Snake's stare. He died. So why are you still alive? Emperor Golden Snake said coldly as a freezing killing intent flashed in his eyes. Go to accompany Linger. As soon as he finished his words, he started to attack. He turned his palm upside down, releasing a vast power. A huge palm, which was big enough to cover the sky, instantly solidified in the air. Its power was so vast that all the sergeants in the area were stunned. The palm quickly slapped toward Jian Wushuang at lightning speed. So arrogant. Jian Wushuang stood there coldly. The triple kill sword behind him had already been drawn out and was stabbing towards the giant palm. Kai. The sharp sword shadow pierced the palm and began to twist violently. The palm was directly penetrated and dissipated in the air. Considering Jian Wushuang's strength, it was impossible for Emperor Golden Snake to kill him with a casual move. Nevertheless, when the palm was crushed, Emperor Golden Snake also disappeared. Who did you say was arrogant? A voice without any emotion suddenly sounded from behind Jian Wushuang. Emperor Golden Snake stood behind him, less than 3 meters away. So fast, Jian Wushuang's eyes narrowed. He sensed that a freezing light was chopping toward his head. It was a black scimitar. It was extremely fast and it was already so close to him, so it was too late for Jian Wushuang to turn around and resist it. Buzz! A mighty killing intent surged out from Jian Wushuang and a vast blood river immediately spread out over the area. The blood river, which superimposed with the thousandfold realm to form a realm, oppressed Emperor Golden Snake, making him halt for a moment. The black scimitar also became slightly slower. Jian Wushuang seized the opportunity and dodged. Swoosh! The freezing black light whizzed past Jian Wushuang's ear, making a shrill boom as it glided through the air. So close. The sergeants could not help exclaiming as they saw this breathtaking scene. Not bad, Emperor Golden Snake was also surprised. Hum! Jian Wushuang snorted. Behind him, the 60-meter-high golden sword Soul Phantom appeared once again. Along with it came the matchless supreme sword essence. Jian Wushuang's turbulent power burst forth and the 8 origin marks on his arms also exploded, releasing power to their absolute limit. Then, he swung his long sword. The golden sword Soul Phantom behind him swung its long sword simultaneously. In an instant, the sky darkened. A bright and dazzling sword shadow emerged. This sword shadow silently glided through the space between them. However, it carried a terrible force with it that seemed as if it could exterminate everything. It was the 4th move of heart-killing sword technique, Sheer Shadow. Through Jian Wushuang's all-out exertion, the power of the sword had reached an earth-shaking level. The bright but silent sword shadow immediately chopped toward Emperor Golden Snake. Chapter 541, Fighting with Emperor Golden Snake. Chapter 541, Fighting with Emperor Golden Snake. This stroke. How dazzling. The sergeants around the battlefield looked at the sword stroke in shock, but the sword shadow was so dazzling that they couldn't help closing their eyes. Emperor Golden Snake also narrowed his eyes. The power of Jian Wushuang's sword stroke was far beyond that of a divine general. It was nearly comparable to that of a divine emperor. The only thing missing was a Dao. When the sword shadow glided past him, Emperor Golden Snake avoided it easily by simply shifting his body slightly. The immense power of the sword shadow glided right in front of Emperor Golden Snake and shot directly toward the ground below. Boom! Clang! With a loud boom, the sword shadow sliced a huge sword scar in the ground so wide and deep that no one could see the bottom of it. As the sword shadow chopped down, the numerous demonic beast corpses on the ground were all crushed into dust by the strong sword light. Hundreds of demonic beast corpses completely disappeared. How frightening. Was this really done by a divine general? He's too strong. The sergeants who were watching the battle were all very excited and they looked at Jian Wushuang with worship in their eyes. They had thought that Jian Wushuang would definitely be defeated by Emperor Golden Snake. Therefore, they fell into a daze when they saw what was happening. Jian Wushuang had faced off against Emperor Golden Snake in one-on-one combat. But it actually ended in a draw. Emperor Golden Snake, is this your full strength? Jian Wushuang's cold voice echoed throughout the area, then a light flashed in the eyes of the golden sword Soul Phantom behind Jian Wushuang. Swoosh! Jian Wushuang took a step forward while simultaneously releasing a burst of supreme sword essence, which materialized unexpectedly and shot through the air in the shape of tiny swords, rushing toward Emperor Golden Snake at an alarming speed. Funny, Emperor Golden Snake glanced at Jian Wushuang and said in a low voice, "Can a bug like you understand a divine emperor's means?" A shining gray light glinted from the black scimitar in Emperor Golden Snake's hand as a terrible power gathered around it. All the sergeants held their breath as they watched. They knew that Emperor Golden Snake was going to use a killing blow. But, even before Emperor Golden Snake could begin, "Stop!" A sudden cry was heard from a nearby area, after which a thin black-clothed elder appeared out of nowhere, standing between Jian Wushuang and Emperor Golden Snake. Boom! A majestic aura emanated from the black-clothed elder, indicating that he was also a divine emperor. "It's him." Jian Wushuang changed his expression when he recognized the black-clothed elder. Previously, when Jian Wushuang fought with Fang Han in the camp, this black-clothed elder appeared to settle the conflict and seemed to be partial toward him. "Golden Snake, what are you doing?" The black-clothed elder turned to Emperor Golden Snake and asked. He had sensed the rising killing intent in Emperor Golden Snake even when he was on the front battlefield, so he followed Emperor Golden Snake in case something happened. He had witnessed Emperor Golden Snake's fight with Jian Wushuang. "Xieying, are you going to stop me?" Emperor Golden Snake stared at the black-clothed elder with scarlet eyes. The black-clothed elder was Emperor Xieying, one of the 108 divine emperors in the Monster Exterminating League. Upon feeling the immense killing intent radiating from Emperor Golden Snake, his complexion darkened slightly. "What's wrong?" Emperor Xieying frowned and asked, "Golden Snake, you're a divine emperor, how can you fight with a divine general without a special reason? Have you forgotten your position?" "Reason? Hihi, Linga died because of him. Is this reason sufficient?" "Linga?" Emperor Xieying changed his expression slightly. He naturally knew that Linga was Jin Ling. At the same time, he also knew how much Emperor Golden Snake doted on Jin Ling. Emperor Golden Snake had lived for a long time, so all of his relatives were dead and his tribe was long gone. Jin Ling was his last remaining family member in the world, so it was not difficult to imagine the importance Jin Ling held in his heart. It was rumored that Emperor Golden Snake liked to shield the mistakes for him men, but in fact, he only did this for his son. Since Jin Ling was dead, it was natural for Golden Snake to go mad. "Golden Snake, wasn't your son killed by the demonic beasts?" "What's the matter with Jian Wushuang?" Emperor Xieying said in a low voice. "I say it matters." "Xieying, get out of my way." Emperor Golden Snake's eyes sparkled with an angry light. He would have been more polite to Emperor Xieying ordinarily, but right now he only wanted to avenge Jin Ling and was being stopped by Emperor Xieying, so he raged against him. "Golden Snake," Emperor Xieying wanted to say something. "Get out of the way." Emperor Golden Snake growled, "If you don't get out of the way, I swear that I'll apply to the Temple Masters for a life-death duel with you after this." "A life-death duel?" Emperor Xieying was shocked and his expression darkened. "Right at this moment. What happened? Why did you two decide to have a life-death duel?" The crowd suddenly heard a gentle voice and then felt a dense warmth surround them. The warmth immediately eased the tense situation as everyone felt a warm sensation in their hearts, which quieted them down. Under the watch of everyone, a tender figure slowly landed. She had a beautiful face, a curvaceous figure, and an enchanting smile on her face, with a dense warmth emanating from her as if she bathed in the sun like a goddess. Seeing her, Emperor Xieying immediately bowed and said, "I pay my respects to your excellency." Although Emperor Golden Snake was in a rage, he respectfully saluted, "Temple Master Pure Moon." "Temple Master?" The sergeants as well as Jian Wushuang were shocked for an instant and immediately saluted towards her. A Temple Master was a supreme being in the Monster Exterminating League and a super expert above the Cloud Realm. The 33 Temple Masters of the Monster Exterminating League made up the highest battle strength of the human population on the Monster Continent. Temple Master Pure Moon was one of the 33 Temple Masters. She had been in the East Camp all year round, but today she even came to the battlefield and killed many demonic beasts. Chapter 542, To Save or Not to Save? Chapter 542, To Save or Not to Save? Please rise, Temple Master Pure Moon said in a soft voice. Everyone got up one after another, at which point they noticed many people arriving and quickly appearing at her side. Those people were the generals of East Camp. These 10 generals were all divine emperors who had participated in the fight with demonic beasts on the front battlefield. They came here after they sensed what was happening, and even Emperor Fengxiao was among them. Golden Snake, aren't you quite irritable today? Emperor Fengxiao looked at Emperor Golden Snake with great interest. Emperor Golden Snake, I just heard that you wanted to have a life-death duel with Xieying. What happened? Why did you mention a life-death duel? Haha, Golden Snake, you always keep a low profile. Why are you being so domineering today? The generals were talking casually. Emperor Golden Snake was regarded as an average general among the 108 divine emperors. Many of the divine emperors present were stronger than him. As for Emperor Fengxiao, he was far stronger than Golden Snake. They did not need to consider Golden Snake's feeling when joking. Emperor Golden Snake's face darkened slightly. Nevertheless, with the presence of so many divine emperors and Temple Master Pure Moon, he dared not rage against them. Before Emperor Golden Snake could say anything, Emperor Xieying began to speak. Temple Master Pure Moon, and everyone else. Emperor Xieying narrated what he witnessed. When I was on the front battlefield, I noticed that Emperor Golden Snake seemed a little weird, so I followed him here. Then I found him fighting with this divine general named Jian Wushuang. In the end, Golden Snake is a divine emperor and he violated the rules of the East Camp by fighting with a divine general. In addition, this divine general had just fought with the demonic beasts and made great contributions to our league. So I tried to stop him. I never thought that he was unwilling to stop and insisted on killing Jian Wushuang. He even said that he would apply for a life-death duel with me if I still tried to stop him. Is it so? Temple Master Pure Moon, as well as the divine emperors, looked at Emperor Golden Snake in shock. Golden Snake, what's the matter? Temple Master Pure Moon's voice became cold. East Camp was established to defend against the demonic beasts. Its only enemy was the demonic beasts. In the East Camp, any personal conflicts must be put aside. The experts were allowed to fight with each other only after they left the East Camp, or if they got permission from the higher-level experts after applying for a life-death duel. Emperor Golden Snake had indeed violated the rules of East Camp by trying to kill a divine general without regards to the price. Temple Master Pure Moon, Jian Wushuang killed my only son. How can I spare his life? Emperor Golden Snake said in a trembling voice. Killed your son? Temple Master Pure Moon's beautiful face became serious. She asked, do you mean that this divine general killed your son out of personal conflicts during the battle with the demonic beasts? Yes, Emperor Golden Snake replied, I got a message from Linga before he died. Out of personal conflicts, Jian Wushuang left him to die while fighting the demonic beasts. Temple Master Pure Moon, please uphold justice and allow me to kill this man and avenge Linga. Left him to die. Temple Master Pure Moon raised her eyebrows and turned to Jian Wushuang. Her mighty aura also started to suppress Jian Wushuang. Little boy, is that true? She asked. The divine emperors also turned to Jian Wushuang. Under the gaze of the crowd, Jian Wushuang took a deep breath and then nodded slowly. Indeed, it's true. Temple Master Pure Moon, and everyone else, did you hear him? He admitted that he refused to help Linga and caused Linga's death. Emperor Golden Snake's voice was full of pain. Linga died because of him. Shouldn't I kill him to avenge Linga? The other divine emperors quietly nodded their agreement. In this case, it was natural for Emperor Golden Snake to avenge his son. At this moment, however, Jian Wushuang stepped forward and solemnly said when looking at Temple Master Pure Moon and others divine emperors, Temple Master Pure Moon and respected divine emperors, I want to ask you a question before you come to a conclusion. Temple Master Pure Moon and the divine emperors turned to look at Jian Wushuang again. My question is this, if you rescue a man, then he stabs you in the back after that and causes you to fall into a crisis, will you rescue him again? Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. Of course I won't rescue such an ungrateful man, a hot-tempered divine emperor directly answered. That's it. Jian Wushuang said loudly, Your honors, I had already saved Jin Ling once before he died. I did my best to save him even at the price of falling into a crisis myself. After he made it out, he ignored the ones who saved him and only wanted to flee for his life, causing us to fall into despair and nearly die. If it wasn't for my trump cards, the sergeants of my squad and I would have been killed by the demonic beasts. The farmer saved a snake, but was bitten by it. I rescued such an ungrateful and selfish man once. Why should I rescue him a second time? Jian Wushuang became more agitated as he said these words, and his eyes which were full of anger as he turned to face Emperor Golden Snake. Emperor Golden Snake, you said that I left him to die. Let me ask you this, would you save him if you were me? Jian Wushuang shouted angrily. Golden Snake's expression darkened, but he did not reply. Temple Master Pure Moon, and your honors, Jian Wushuang turned to Temple Master Pure Moon and said solemnly, I, Jian Wushuang, am always open and straightforward. I'm fair to everyone and won't be affected by private feelings in business. I did my best to save Jin Ling once, so I don't feel guilty. I rescued him, but what I got in return was him leaving me in a desperate situation. I'm not a fool. I won't be cheated a second time. Even if Jin Ling stood in front of me and asked for my help now, I wouldn't save him again. If I were not restrained by the rules of East Camp, I would kill him myself. Jian Wushuang's loud voice echoed throughout the area and his words were as sharp as blades, making people secretly feel surprised as they quivered. Temple Master Pure Moon and the Divine Emperors became silent. They were thinking about Jian Wushuang's words. If it were them, would they save Jin Ling again after that? The answer was definitely no. Chapter 543, A Life-Death Duel. Chapter 543, A Life-Death Duel. TMPH, if it were me, do you expect me to rescue him again? He should feel lucky if I did not kill him directly, the hot-tempered Divine Emperor said. I wouldn't rescue him either. Only a fool would. In my opinion, I should directly kill him. Other Divine Emperors spoke out. Emperor Golden Snake became gloomy upon hearing their words. Jian Wushuang. Temple Master Pure Moon spoke again, but her voice was not as cold as before. Can anyone testify that what you said is true? Of course, Jian Wushuang nodded. The sergeants of the 7th Army and the 6th Army witnessed what happened. They can testify. Temple Master Pure Moon looked around. The sergeants looked at each other silently. Then, Fang Han, the commander of the 7th Army, spoke first. Respected Temple Master and Divine Emperors, I'm Fang Han, the commander of the 7th Army. I can testify that what Jian Wushuang said is true. I can also testify, the commander of the 6th Army also said. We can testify, Qing Hua and the other sergeants said. After the battle today, Jian Wushuang's strength had completely impressed them. Many sergeants began to admire Jian Wushuang. In addition, they saw clearly how Jian Wushuang went to save Jin Ling but was abandoned by Jin Ling naturally. They chose to testify for Jian Wushuang. Emperor Golden Snake, if you still don't believe it, you can ask the sergeants under the command of Jin Ling. They shouldn't lie to you, Jian Wushuang said. As soon as Jian Wushuang finished his words, a team leader who belonged to Jin Ling's squad said solemnly, Your Excellencies, what Sir Jian Wushuang said is true. Our squad had been surrounded by the demonic beasts. Sir Jian Wushuang risked his life to rescue us, but our squad leader, Jin Ling, ordered us to run away after we were rescued, leaving Sir Jian Wushuang and his squad in a desperate situation. Speaking frankly, our leader, Jin Ling, really did act ungrateful. The sergeants from Jin Ling's squad stood out to testify for Jian Wushuang. It made Emperor Golden Snake even more depressed. Golden Snake, did you hear that? Temple Master Pure Moon turned to Emperor Golden Snake and said, Your golden boy acted like that. How can you blame Jian Wushuang for not rescuing him? Emperor Golden Snake gritted his teeth and his eyes became scarlet. He took a deep breath and suddenly raised his head. Temple Master Pure Moon, Linger made a mistake, but he was my son, the last of my blood in this world. For the past years, I've made great contributions to the Monster Exterminating League and the whole human population. Now, my only son is dead. If I can't kill Jian Wushuang, I'll never accept it. What do you want? Temple Master Pure Moon lowered her voice. I'll apply for a life-death duel with Jen Wushuang. Emperor Golden Snake snorted. Life-death duel? His words caused a stir among the crowd. Even the divine emperors present looked at Emperor Golden Snake in shock. The life-death duel of the League was strict as it was set up entirely for the purpose of solving the endless hatred between two sides. It didn't matter what the two sides' ranks were. That was to say, a divine emperor could even have a life-death duel with a newborn baby as long as he got permission from the temple masters. However, the larger the strength gap was between the two sides, the more difficult it was to get permission. Nevertheless, once he got permission, the other side had to fight whether they were willing to or not. They would fight until one side died. According to the League's rule, since I'm a divine emperor, if I want to have a life-death duel with a general second-grade divine general, I only need the permission of 5 temple masters. Just 5 temple masters. I've made so many great contributions in the League, I don't think that I can't get permission from 5 temple masters, Emperor Golden Snake said coldly. He looked at Jen Wushuang with resentment in his eyes as if he were a real snake. No, Golden Snake, you're wrong, Temple Master Pure Moon suddenly spoke up. Huh? Emperor Golden Snake looked towards her immediately. Normally, according to the League's rules, if Jen Wushuang is a general second-grade divine general, you need the permission of 5 temple masters. But he's different, Temple Master Pure Moon said. Different? What's the difference? Emperor Golden Snake asked. The situation with Jen Wushuang is not as simple as you thought. In other words, Jen Wushuang is not as strong as you believe. Temple Master Pure Moon spoke in a weird tone. What do you mean? Emperor Golden Snake asked in confusion. The other divine emperors were confused as well because they did not understand what Temple Master Pure Moon meant. Only Jen Wushuang and Qing Hua, who stood next to him, knew the reason. An odd look appeared on his face and Jen Wushuang could not help stroking his nose. Golden Snake, to be honest, you'll need the permission of at least half of the temple masters if you want to have a life-death duel with Jen Wushuang. In other words, 17 of the 33 temple masters. The reason is simple. Temple Master Pure Moon paused and said slowly under the confused gaze of the crowd, Jen Wushuang is just a little guy who is still in the Saint Realm. The whole battlefield immediately became still. The sergeants, as well as the divine emperors, stood there in a daze. Temple Master Pure Moon, what did you say? A divine emperor next to her thought that he misheard her. I said, Jen Wushuang is only a Saint Realm expert, Temple Master Pure Moon said again. Now, everyone had heard clearly. After they heard her clearly, an unprecedented outcry burst forth on the battlefield. The Saint Realm? Jen Wushuang is only a Saint Realm expert. As a second-grade divine general, he was so strong that he could even cause a draw with Emperor Golden Snake for a short period. Yet, he's only a Saint Realm expert. Was she joking? Everyone was filled with an unprecedented shock, especially the sergeants, who had personally witnessed Jen Wushuang's incredible and admirable strength. But now, Temple Master Pure Moon was telling them that Jen Wushuang was only a Saint Realm expert. Can that be true? Saint Realm? How could it be? It's impossible. The sergeants shook their heads crazily. Chapter 544, So Incredible. Chapter 544, So Incredible. Saint Realm? Emperor Golden Snake stared at Jen Wushuang in shock. He had just fought with Jen Wushuang and was quite shocked by Jen Wushuang's strength. If it hadn't been for the fact that he had comprehended a Dao, he would not have the confidence to defeat Jen Wushuang. But now, he was being told by Temple Master Pure Moon that Jen Wushuang was only a Saint Realm expert. A Saint Realm expert was able to battle with him for 2 rounds and come out with a draw. A Saint Realm expert could force him to go all out. That boy, even Emperor Fengxiao felt shocked. When he was in Heaven Wing City and watched Jen Wushuang's performance during the Divine General Assessment, he was quite surprised by Jen Wushuang's strength. But he had never thought that Jen Wushuang was only a Saint Realm expert. Jen Wushuang, do you think that your aura concealing technique can deceive me? Temple Master Pure Moon looked down towards Jen Wushuang and spoke. Hearing this, Jen Wushuang forced a bitter smile and then quit hiding his aura. When his real spiritual power aura was released, the sergeants in the area immediately shouted out in astonishment. "Oh my God, he's really a Saint Realm expert. He is indeed." Emperor Golden Snake stared at Jian Wushuang, his facial expression changing immediately. "Golden Snake, do you understand now?" Temple Master Pure Moon turned towards Emperor Golden Snake. "As a divine emperor, you're far beyond a Saint Realm expert. Therefore, the condition of having a life-death duel is tougher. You need the permission of at least 17 Temple Masters." Emperor Golden Snake turned pale. 17 Temple Masters. Altogether, there were 33 Temple Master in the Monster Exterminating League. At least some of them were cultivating in seclusion at all times and would not appear unless there was a massive demonic beasts invasion that threatened the human population with the danger of extinction. Some Temple Masters were adventuring in the monster territory and rarely returned. They would not concern themselves with the life-death duel either. The remaining number of Temple Masters was above 17, but who would agree for him to have a life-death duel with a Saint Realm expert? It was obviously unfair. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Golden Snake, gritted his teeth and turned to face Jian Wushuang. "Don't be proud. I'll find a way to get permission from 17 Temple Masters. I'll avenge Linger no matter what price I need to pay, even if it costs me my life." After saying that, Emperor Golden Snake bowed to Temple Master Pure Moon and immediately left with a wave of his sleeve. "All right, that's the end of it. You can leave now," Temple Master Pure Moon said before quickly disappearing. The Divine Emperors also dispersed. Before they left though, they looked at Jian Wushuang curiously. A Saint Realm expert with such strength. Interesting. Jian Wushuang is so extraordinary. If he has a breakthrough and reaches the Cloud Realm, I'm afraid he'll be stronger than us. It seems that Golden Snake has to swallow the tough pill this time. It's definitely impossible to get the permission of 17 Temple Masters. After the Divine Emperors dispersed, Zone number 14 calmed down again. Fang Han came up to Jian Wushuang at this moment. Jian Wushuang, Fang Han had a complicated expression as he glanced at Jian Wushuang and immediately took out an interspatial ring. "These are the monster cores and treasures obtained by the sergeants while cleaning the battlefield. According to your position and your contributions in the battle, you get the largest portion, 10%. Jian Wushuang had indeed made the greatest contributions in the battle. He had used the realm technique and slaughtered numerous demonic beasts. In addition, he had blocked the breach alone. It could be said that Jian Wushuang was the reason why the sergeants could kill so many demonic beasts in zone number 14. No one would complain if he took 10% of the monster cores and treasures. "Thank you," Jian Wushuang nodded. After cleaning the battlefield and disposing of the demonic beast bodies, the sergeants returned to the campsite. Jian Wushuang sat alone in a tent, counting the monster cores he had obtained from the battle. Monster cores were much easier to obtain during a brutal war, so the number of monster cores Jian Wushuang obtained in this battle was astonishing. It actually took him a moment, but he counted all of them. 13 rank 8 monster cores. 36 rank 7 monster cores. 141 rank 6 monster cores. And countless monster cores under rank 6. After seeing the monster cores in the interspatial ring, Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled with excitement. A large portion of the monster cores had been obtained by slaughtering the demonic beasts mercilessly, while the other portion had been distributed to him after cleaning the battlefield. Either way, the total value was quite extraordinary. "Sure enough, war is the easiest way to get monster cores," Jian Wushuang said and smiled. Monster cores were extremely useful in the Monster Exterminating League. They were the only way to exchange the treasures in the Earth Core Palace and the Monster Exterminating Pagoda. And the number of monster cores obtained by Jian Wushuang during the battle was enough to make even the Divine Emperors envious. "With these monster cores, I can get the next levels of the bone fusion technique." Jian Wushuang clenched his fists in excitement. That night, Jian Wushuang and Qinghua walked side by side in the campsite. After the brutal war, the campsite had an intangible air of sadness. Numerous sergeants died in the battle. The Monster Exterminating League had already begun to supplement the remaining force. It was estimated that in a few days, The understaffed armies and squads in the East Camp would be fortified to a reasonable level. Look, that's Zhen Wushuang. Is it him? Gee, I heard today that even Emperor Golden Snake could not defeat him, and it said that he's only a Saint Realm expert. It's so incredible for a Saint Realm expert to be so strong. The sergeants looked at Zhen Wushuang with awe and admiration. Many sergeants were talking about him in a low voice. Brother Wushuang, you're really famous in the East Camp now. Many sergeants are talking about you, Qinghua said. Zhen Wushuang smiled but didn't really care. Brother Wushuang, are you still worried about Emperor Golden Snake? Qinghua looked at Zhen Wushuang. No, Zhen Wushuang shook his head and replied. In fact, you don't need to worry about him. Even though he's a divine emperor, you're a second-grade divine general in the league. At the very least, he won't dare to do anything to you directly. As for the life-death duel, he'll need the permission of 17 temple masters. Think of the supreme position of the temple masters. Emperor Golden Snake can barely meet any one of them, let alone asking for their permission. It's definitely impossible, Qinghua said. Chapter 545 An Outsider. Chapter 545 An Outsider. 17 Temple Masters? Zhen Wushuang smiled. The Temple Masters had a supreme position in the Monster Exterminating League. It was not easy to meet any one of them, let alone to meet 17 Temple Masters. Even if Emperor Golden Snake used up all of his wealth, it was impossible for him to meet so many Temple Masters. Most importantly, the Temple Masters might not promise even if he could afford the price. Of course, he can't do anything publicly. But he may find a chance to kill you secretly, Qinghua said. If Emperor Golden Snake used some secret means, as long as he was not discovered by others, no one could blame him. I'll take whatever measures the situation calls for. I'm ready for him, regardless of whether his actions are open or secret, Zhen Wushuang replied calmly. He had a taste of Emperor Golden Snake's strength from the previous fight with him. Although he might have difficulty competing with Emperor Golden Snake in one-to-one combat, it would not be a problem for him to keep his life. Zhen Wushuang did not care too much about Emperor Golden Snake's threat. On the other side, Emperor Golden Snake was sitting at a long desk in one of East Camp's tents. General, all the information about Zhen Wushuang is here. A sergeant handed a packet of information to him. Emperor Golden Snake took the paper and immediately frowned. He asked, so little? The material was only a few pages long, so it didn't take long for Emperor Golden Snake to open it and read through it. What's this? There is only information on him for the last few months. Where is the rest of his information? Emperor Golden Snake asked. General, according to the information we found, Zhen Wushuang was saved by the Wu Yang tribe a few months ago. No one knew anything about him before that, the sergeant replied respectfully. Oh. Emperor Golden Snake was surprised and read the information again. Chem. He just started to learn the bone fusion technique when he joined the Wu Yang tribe. Emperor Golden Snake was surprised. Since he had fought with Zhen Wushuang, he clearly understood Zhen Wushuang's physical strength. Obviously, Zhen Wushuang had cultivated to the 6th level of the bone fusion technique. He's such a powerful Saint Realm expert, but he only just learned the bone fusion technique a few months ago. In addition, he has cultivated to the 6th level of the bone fusion technique within such a short period. His past is also full of mystery. Even the Monster Exterminating Pagoda failed to find out his background before entering the Wu Yang tribe. Since he's so strong and has extraordinary means, why was he not famous at all? Emperor Golden Snake frowned thoughtfully. There are only two possible ways to explain all this. Emperor Golden Snake's eyes suddenly lit up. The first one, he's a monster spy. However, since he is a divine general, he must have been inspected by a monster discriminator, so that isn't possible. That only leaves the second option, he is an outsider. Outsiders referred to human experts who came from outside of the monster continent. There were several outsiders on the monster continent, and there were even 3 outsiders among the 108 divine emperors. When Zhen Wushuang was in the Wu Yang tribe, Qinghua, a first-grade divine general, had guessed Zhen Wushuang's identity as an outsider. Golden Snake had a broader vision than Qinghua, so he naturally could figure it out as well. Haha, God blessed me. God blessed me. Jian Wushuang turns out to be an outsider. Emperor Golden Snake became extremely excited. He was worried about how to kill Jian Wushuang and avenge his son, but now he knew that Jian Wushuang was an outsider. People in the Monster Exterminating League would inevitably have some objection to outsiders. The League was more likely to help their own people when there were conflicts. After all, a mother would favor her own son no matter what her son did. If Jian Wushuang was not an outsider, the Temple Masters would probably refuse Emperor Golden Snake's application for a life-death duel. After all, Jian Wushuang had great potential. As a Saint Realm expert, he was already so powerful. Once he entered the Cloud Realm, he would become at least a superior emperor. It was even possible for him to become the 34th Temple Master of the Monster Exterminating League. The Monster Exterminating League would never allow a peerless genius like Jian Wushuang to be killed prematurely. But an outsider was different. What was the use of a potential outsider who was not controlled by the Monster Exterminating League? In contrast, although Emperor Golden Snake did not have as much potential, he was a divine emperor and could make greater contributions to the League. Since we know he's an outsider, it will be easier to kill him, Emperor Golden Snake sneered and left the tent. After traveling through the wormhole, Emperor Golden Snake quickly arrived at the holy place. Among the palaces that covered the mountain in the holy place, there was a scarlet one, and the owner of that palace was Temple Master Iceberg, one of the Temple Masters in the Monster Exterminating League. The palace was magnificent. A middle-aged man with a mustache was sitting there, barefoot and wearing a loose robe. "Respected elder," Emperor Golden Snake said with his head down. This man was also a Temple Master. When facing Temple Master Pure Moon, Emperor Golden Snake appeared to be humble and respectful, but he was filled with genuine respect and fear toward this man. "Golden Snake, did you come here for your son Jin Ling?" The middle-aged man named Temple Master Iceberg looked down at him. "Yes." Emperor Golden Snake nodded respectfully. "I can't help you avenge your son." Temple Master Iceberg shook his head. "Elder," Emperor Golden Snake's look changed slightly. "Golden Snake." Temple Master Iceberg spoke some more. "I've watched you grow up all the way to Divine Emperor, so I can be counted as a half-master to you. Because of that, I'll help you as long as I can. However, I also have to obey the rules of the League. The man who you want to kill is a second-grade Divine General. You can only kill him by initiating a life-death duel. But the most important issue is that he's only a Saint Realm expert. Eve as a Saint Realm expert, he has the battle strength of a second-grade Divine General. Such a peerless genius has never appeared on the monster continent before. The old guys in the League will never allow you to kill him. What's more, they may send experts to protect him secretly so that he can grow up to become a powerful resource for the League. Elder, Jian Wushuang is an outsider." Emperor Golden Snake suddenly said. "What?" Temple Master Iceberg's look changed. Chapter 546 Approved. Chapter 546 Approved. An outsider, are you sure? I can't be completely sure, but I would say, at least 90% confident, Emperor Golden Snake replied solemnly. Temple Master Iceberg pondered for a while before shaking his head as usual. "Even if he's an outsider, a life-death duel with him won't be easy for you." "I know, and that's why I came to find you, my senior." Emperor Golden Snake turned his eyes toward Temple Master Iceberg. Folding his eyebrows, the latter became silent and did not offer a swift reply. "Senior, I was lucky enough to obtain a jade slip during an opportunity once." Emperor Golden Snake inhaled a deep breath before he slowly explained, "There was a message in that jade slip. It mentioned the ancient world token." "What did you just say?" Temple Master Iceberg, who had been sitting upright on his throne all along, suddenly stood up. A strange expression flickered faintly in his eyes. Emperor Golden Snake was not at all surprised by Temple Master Iceberg's sudden change of attitude. He was fully aware of the attraction which the ancient world token had for the latter. "Senior, you didn't hear wrongly. The message in the jade slip indeed mentioned the ancient world token," Emperor Golden Snake affirmed. "Quick, let me have a look at the jade slip." Temple Master Iceberg implored. With no hesitation, Emperor Golden Snake waved his hands and took out a jade slip which he passed to Temple Master Iceberg. After receiving the jade slip, Temple Master Iceberg transmitted his consciousness into it and immediately received a message. Emperor Golden Snake simply stood where he was and waited in silence. There was, however, a confident smile on his face, which grew into an unconcealable large grin by the time Temple Master Iceberg came to his senses a short while later. Golden Snake. Temple Master Iceberg looked down once more. I'm keeping this jade slip. As for the life-death duel, I'll immediately send word to the other Temple Masters to do me a favor. They can't refuse when I'm asking in my personal capacity. Thank you so much, Senior. Emperor Golden Snake became overjoyed at once. All right then. You should head back and prepare. Temple Master Iceberg waved a hand. Yes, Emperor Golden Snake acknowledged before he turned and departed. Left alone in the palace, Temple Master Iceberg was ecstatic. Ancient World Token. Time flew by in the blink of an eye. At present, it had already been 10 days since the massacre of the demonic beasts. Within these 10 days, the East Camp was completely stabilized, and most of the sergeants who were lost in the battle had been replaced. At this moment, 2 figures swept forth from a void near to the campsite of the 7th Army. One of them was Emperor Fengxiao, who had previously bestowed the token of the 4th level of the Earth Core Palace to Jian Wushuang. The other was Emperor Xiering, who had used his hands to hold back Emperor Golden Snake. Sigh. I'd personally prevented Emperor Golden Snake from killing Jian Wushuang in the past. Little did I expect that I would be in charge of announcing this matter now. Emperor Xiering heaved softly with an unpleasant look on his face. I never imagined that Golden Snake could actually find a way to make the 17 Temple Masters approve of the life-death duel. Emperor Fengxiao frowned as well. He certainly wouldn't have had the capability to do so on his own. My guess is that Temple Master Iceberg supported him and asked on his behalf, said Emperor Xiering. Temple Master Iceberg is one of the top 3 experts among the Temple Masters of my Monster Exterminating League. The other Temple Masters would usually agree to any request he makes. And most importantly, Jian Wushuang is an outsider. That's right. If he wasn't an outsider, it wouldn't be possible even if Temple Master Iceberg intervened. Emperor Fengxiao sighed. All right, enough talk. We're here. Emperor Xiering looked down toward the campsite of the 7th Army. Jian Wushuang. Emperor Xiering and Emperor Fengxiao were still standing abreast on the void when the former's voice could be heard below. Jian Wushuang, who had been studiously meditating the 6-story pagoda restriction in a tent, immediately stepped out and appeared on the void upon hearing the voice. Emperor Fengxiao, Emperor Xiering. He respectfully bowed to the 2 men he saw. He was grateful for the help they had given him in the past. However, they looked back at him with rather complicated looks in their eyes. Jian Wushuang. Emperor Xiering opened his mouth slightly but held back just as he was about to speak. After a long while, he sighed and said, Temple Master Pure Moon ordered me to send word that Emperor Golden Snake's proposal for a life-death duel with you has been approved by 17 Temple Masters. What? It has been approved? Jian Wushuang could not help feeling surprised. He had believed that it was practically impossible for Emperor Golden Snake to gain the approval of 17 Temple Masters, but alas. It seems that I've underestimated Emperor Golden Snake. One has to be quite capable to make 17 Temple Masters approve of the life-death duel. Jian Wushuang muttered. Emperor Xiering continued, according to the League's rules, the life-death duel must go through now that it has the approval of 17 Temple Masters. However, considering that you're only a Saint Realm expert, the disparity with Emperor Golden Snake's level is too huge, and so you'll be given a month to prepare. When a month's up, the showdown between you 2 shall take place in the Bloodshed Valley. A month? Jian Wushuang nodded to himself. To give him a month to prepare showed that the Monster Exterminating League was not too unreasonable. Now that I've conveyed what I was ordered to, I shall leave. Emperor Xiering turned and departed as soon as he finished speaking. However, Emperor Fengxiao was not in the same hurry, and instead came up beside Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. Emperor Fengxiao looked at the latter with a slight smile. Emperor Fengxiao. Jian Wushuang humbly acknowledged. You amazed me during the divine general assessment in Heaven Wing City. But now, you have amazed me even more. Emperor Fengxiao laughed. Already feeling the pressure of the life-death duel with Emperor Golden Snake that takes place in a month's time? Yes, a little. Jian Wushuang nodded his head indicatively. A life-death duel was different from a typical fight. In a typical fight, he would be able to escape even if he could not defeat Emperor Golden Snake, and so he would not be the least bit worried about the latter. But in a life-death duel, someone had to die, and that would be him if he was weaker than his opponent. There's no way out. None of the temple masters sided with you after the League found out you're an outsider, Emperor Fengxiao said. Jian Wushuang could not help laughing bitterly upon hearing this. He finally understood that his background affected the temple masters' feeling toward him, and thus explained why they gave their approval. You can't change the fact that the life-death duel has been set. It's too late even if you think of escaping now. Unless you flee to a territory occupied by demonic beasts and never return to human territory, that is. Emperor Golden Snake alone won't scare me away. Jian Wushuang laughed easily. What a joke of a suggestion. While in the Divine Land, he had safely emerged from an encounter with an entire bunch of super experts and above from the Cloud Realm, who were equivalent in level to the Temple Masters of the Monster Exterminating League. Emperor Golden Snake was merely a normal emperor and thus was not going to scare him away. Chapter 547 Attainments. Chapter 547 Attainments. Jian Wushuang. Let me remind you not to underestimate Emperor Golden Snake too much, Emperor Fengxiao suddenly quipped. Oh! Jian Wushuang looked in surprise at him. He has always kept a low profile among the 108 divine emperors, such that everyone considers him to be the weakest among them. However, nobody knows how strong he really is. After all, he has never fought a life-death battle, whether against humans or demonic beasts, Emperor Fengxiao noted. I have had some dealings with him. Even though we've never fought, I always felt that his strength wasn't as simple as it looked. He might have exchanged blows with you before, but I can assure you that he wasn't using his full strength. Jian Wushuang's gaze became slightly fixed upon hearing this. He never imagined that Emperor Fengxiao would give such a high estimation of Emperor Golden Snake. In any case, the outcome of the life-death duel in a month's time will depend on your skill. I have two things here that should assist you somewhat. Emperor Fengxiao took out a jade slip and a purple golden fruit which gave off an enchanting fragrance. What are they? Jian Wushuang looked doubtfully at the two items and was in no hurry to receive them. This jade slip contains some of my Dao attainments, and also many occults from the water drop sword principle which I meditated upon. It'll be helpful as a reference for your Dao meditation. Emperor Fengxiao added, this is called a soul fruit. I obtained 2 of them by chance during my time wandering the monster territory, and have already consumed one. A soul fruit is a very special natural treasure and can be used to elevate one's soul. I'd only ever awakened 2 sword souls, but after consuming the soul fruit, I awakened a 3rd. As for your sword souls, they're very peculiar, or should I say, frightening, but there's still plenty of room to grow. The soul fruit will definitely be useful to you. These words jolted Jian Wushuang's heart. Emperor Fengxiao's Dao attainments, occults from his meditation of the water drop sword principle, and the soul fruit. These things were not just useful but extremely useful to him. But why was Emperor Fengxiao willing to give him such precious things? Previously, Emperor Fengxiao had also unconditionally given him the token of the 4th level of the Earth Core Palace, which was extraordinarily valuable and incomparably well regarded among the divine emperors. Jian Wushuang had asked himself why the former took such great care of him even though they did not have a pre-existing relationship. Take them. Emperor Fengxiao held the jade slip and soul fruit in front of Jian Wushuang and smiled. I was greatly inspired by your display of swordsmanship during the divine general assessment. If not for that, I might never have mastered the sword movement which I painstakingly studied, and I would never have made such a fast breakthrough regarding the bottleneck that was troubling me in my sword principle cultivation. You helped me a great deal. These are my gifts to you. Jian Wushuang only now understood that the swordsmanship he displayed during the divine general assessment had inspired and thereby helped Emperor Fengxiao. That explained why the latter would be so caring toward him. Thank you so much. Jian Wushuang expressed his gratitude before less courteously accepting the items. You have a month to prepare. Go and get ready. I wish that you'll get through safely. Emperor Fengxiao glanced at Jian Wushuang and made his leave without saying any more. Jian Wushuang made his way down to the campsite, where Qinghua came up to him as soon as he landed. Brother Wushuang, what happened? Qinghua frowned. I'll be fighting a life-death duel with Emperor Golden Snake in a month's time, Jian Wushuang replied. How's that possible? Qinghua was astounded. How did Emperor Golden Snake gain the approval of 17 temple masters for it? They only approved because Temple Master Golden Mountain personally intervened and the Monster Exterminating League found out I'm an outsider, Jian Wushuang answered. Temple Master Golden Mountain? Qinghua showed a slight change in countenance. Qinghua, I'm going to leave East Camp. All right. You only have a month, so go and get prepared, Qinghua solemnly said. Nodding, Jian Wushuang promptly went and applied to leave East Camp. The process was very simple and only took half a day. After handing over all of his responsibilities in the camp, he made a swift departure. A month may not be long, but it's also not too short. I must find a way to increase my strength during this time, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself. The first thing he did was to find a private place where he could thoroughly study the jade slip that Emperor Fengxiao gave him. The place he chose was the Sky Solitude Mountains. The mountains were vast in range and had few passers-by. After finding a spot in one of them where he sat cross-legged, he took out the jade slip and began to look through its messages. The jade slip contained Emperor Fengxiao's Dao ideas and attainments, and also several of his thoughts regarding the water-drop sword principle. It was a very diverse mix of messages. It took a long time for Jian Wushuang to look through all of the messages in the jade slip. So, this is what Dao is really like. There was a hint of enlightenment in his eyes. He had many long-standing questions about Dao as he had never come into contact with it and did not understand it at all. All he knew was that it was highly intriguing. In the Divine Land, for instance, Su Ming's illusory sword principle and Blind Emperor's heart sword principle were profound like none other. It was only now, having looked through Emperor Fengxiao's thoughts and attainments, that he understood. Dao is an evolved form of origin. When one's understanding of origin reached a certain level, the origin would evolve into the higher level Dao. This type of evolution had a very complicated process which could only be completed if one had unique understandings of and attainments in origin. For example, Emperor Fengxiao derived the water-drop sword principle from his understandings of the water-drop origin. But there were still things Jian Wushuang could not understand. According to Emperor Fengxiao, he combined the sword principle and water-drop origin to develop the water-drop sword principle, which I find a little odd even though it's a Dao. He frowned tightly. It seemed to him that origins were origins and sword principles were sword principles, that the two were completely different. The latter should purely be evolved from the former. Instead, Emperor Fengxiao's water-drop sword principle was not a pure evolution of the water-drop origin but required the addition and support of the sword principle in order to be developed. The water-drop sword principle seemingly deviates from the essence of the water-drop origin. Jian Wushuang shook his head involuntarily. Chapter 548, Soul Fruit. Chapter 548, Soul Fruit. Jian Wushuang sat deep in thought. Emperor Fengxiao's attainments and understandings are extremely useful to me in any case. At the very least, I have a fresh understanding of Dao. Although I cannot readily agree with some of his ideas, everyone has his own Dao just as everyone has his own path in life. I just need to draw one or two lessons from his work. I have to keep doing my own study in order to develop my own Dao based on my own ideas. Without thinking further, Jian Wushuang inhaled a deep breath and took out the soul fruit. Soul fruit. A hint of anticipation appeared in his eyes as he gazed at the purple-golden fruit which gave off an enchanting fragrance. According to Emperor Fengxiao, this is tremendously effective at boosting one's soul, and a person can only consume one such fruit in a lifetime. I wonder what use it has for my sword soul. After murmuring to himself, Jian Wushuang opened his mouth and swallowed the soul fruit without hesitation. Upon reaching the stomach, the soul fruit transformed into a strange energy and moved toward the sword soul in the sea of consciousness. An incomparably sharp golden sword soul had been quietly floating in Jian Wushuang's sea of consciousness. However, it clearly became excited and began to tremble frantically when the strange energy appeared. It then opened what resembled a large mouth toward the energy. It took barely a moment for the golden sword soul to completely swallow the energy. Jian Wushuang immediately sensed that the golden sword soul was changing. What a wonderful feeling this is! He could feel that his sword soul was leveling up at an astonishing speed. Though it was already very sharp and powerful to start with, its golden radiance became increasingly dazzling yet. It took a long time before the improvement gradually ceased. As he looked at the golden sword soul in his sea of consciousness, Jian Wushuang could see that it was obviously a size bigger, and also more sharp and dazzling, than before. Just as some ideas sprang to his mind, the majestic golden sword soul phantom began to rise fiercely behind him. Boom! The golden sword soul phantom gave off a haughty, world-belittling, supreme sword essence as it made its appearance. For a while, it seemed to outshine the sun. There was a drastic change in the heightened size of the golden sword soul phantom that just appeared. Originally only 18 zhong, 211 feet, tall, its height was now an impressive 24 zhong, 282 feet. This meant that it was comparable to several large mountains. In Jian Wushuang's hand appeared the triple kill sword, which he flung casually toward the void ahead, aided by the majestic sword soul power. Swish! The void unexpectedly emitted a violent wind-breaking sound, and instantly, an immaterial sword essence wave swept forth with an extremely powerful momentum. Jian Wushuang's countenance changed and his eyes revealed a look of pleasant surprise. Haha, my sword soul has greatly improved and become more powerful indeed. It should be remembered that in a month's time, the life-death duel between Jian Wushuang and Emperor Golden Snake was, as its name suggested, a fight he would either win or perish in. Any improvement to his strength would be extremely important to him, not to mention improvement to his sword soul, which had such an obvious effect on his strength. Emperor Fengxiao has indeed given me a great gift. I must remember this favor. He thought to himself. Having gained a general understanding of Tao and a drastic improvement to his sword soul, Jian Wushuang immediately headed toward the holy place. In the monster exterminating pagoda of the holy place. The monster exterminating pagoda was the treasure vault of the Monster Exterminating League. All kinds of countless treasures belonging to the League were stored here, and they were all purchasable so long as one could pay enough monster cores. Jian Wushuang walked up to the counter. I need the 7th, 8th, and 9th cultivation levels of the bone fusion technique. Here are the monster cores to exchange for them. Jian Wushuang took out an interspatial ring. He had reaped huge earnings from the East Camp's large war and thus could afford 3 levels of the technique. However, he could not afford the monster cores needed for level 10. Wait a second. A white-robed elder at the counter went into the inner hall, but stepped out shortly after and handed 3 jade slips to Jian Wushuang. The higher cultivation levels of the bone fusion technique were more expensively priced. The 7th level and above could only be separately exchanged for, and so each level was accounted for using a jade slip. Jian Wushuang left the monster exterminating pagoda after receiving the 3 levels. He then found a place to begin cultivating them. The bone fusion technique was a pure body reshaping technique and was divided into 12 levels. The first couple of levels were easier to cultivate, but the later ones became progressively more difficult. It placed greatest emphasis on the body's foundation. Jian Wushuang's physical strength was unparalleled, while his foundation, forged from the heavenly creation skill, was all the more indestructible. It was easy to cultivate the bone fusion technique from the 1st to the 6th level, such that he ran into practically no problems doing so. As for the 7th, 8th, and 9th levels, Jian Wushuang found that cultivating level 7 was similarly easy, and he was able to do so quickly without a hitch. However, he had some difficulty beginning from the 8th level. It took him 2 days to complete the cultivation of level 8. Among the 12 levels of the bone fusion technique, every 4 levels constituted a volume. The 8th level was only a part of the middle volume, whereas the 9th was a part of the lower volume, which once cultivated would cause one's body to undergo a qualitative metamorphosis, and was more difficult. Half a month passed. This was the time it took for Jian Wushuang to cultivate level 9 of the bone fusion technique. In an uncared-for mountain forest outside the holy place, Jian Wushuang was standing half-naked under the scorching sun. Just then, his right hand clenched forcefully, and an explosive force formed in it. At the same time, his joints began to make a crackling noise. Hua! With a groan, the fist, which had been gathering strength, smashed directly toward the void ahead. Boom! The world shook. The void, having been violently struck, turned into a storm. Jian Wushuang's eyes glimmered upon witnessing this scene. My body strength is at least 4 times greater than it was. This was the result of cultivating level 9 of the bone fusion technique. Not only did the strength of his body increase, but more importantly, its tenacity increased all the more absurdly. Rather than the effectiveness of the bone fusion technique, this could be attributed to a greater extent to the fact that Jian Wushuang's body foundation was too vigorous. It should be known that among the many divine emperors of the Monster Exterminating League, only 3 had cultivated level 9 of the bone fusion technique, whereas most of them had only cultivated up to level 8. Even the temple masters of the League mostly remained at level 9. Yet, despite being only a Saint Realm expert, Jian Wushuang had managed to cultivate said level. I'm starting to look forward to the life-death duel with Emperor Golden Snake. Jian Wushuang squinted his eyes, within which a hint of battle intent rose. Chapter 549, A Life-Death Duel in the Bloodshed Valley. Chapter 549, A Life-Death Duel in the Bloodshed Valley. There were still 10 or so days to go before the life-death duel. Rather than idling, Jian Wushuang spent this time cultivating in Earth Core Palace. Jian Wushuang had used the greater part of the monster cores he obtained from the East Camp War to exchange for level 7 to 9 of the bone fusion technique. The remaining monster cores could barely afford access to level 3, let alone level 4, of Earth Core Palace. Hence, Jian Wushuang spent these days cultivating on level 2 of Earth Core Palace. The strength of the origin on level 2 naturally could not compare to that on level 4. Nevertheless, there was a substantial improvement in Jian Wushuang's origin enlightenment after the 10 or so days of meditation. Especially the slaughter origin. I've gained insight into 998 out of the 999 types of slaughter occults of the 6-story pagoda's first restriction. Only one remains. Jian Wushuang sat in the secret chamber with his brows slightly drawn. According to Di Jing, one would naturally pass the Dao threshold upon gaining an understanding of every slaughter occult of the 6-story pagoda's first restriction. However, Jian Wushuang did not see any sign of Dao enlightenment despite being only 1 step away. Di Jing's ancestors were almighty super experts outside the ancient world. He wouldn't lie to me. It seems that the final slaughter occult is the real key, he muttered. The final slaughter occult was the last step. However, Jian Wushuang could not gain insight into it despite meditating upon it. He thus understood that the final slaughter occult was a bottleneck. I now have a great understanding of the world origin and slaughter origin, way surpassing that of typical Cloud Realm experts. In fact, I feel that my origin enlightenment is enough to condense the 9th origin mark, which still doesn't show any sign of condensing nonetheless. He felt utterly helpless. However, what brought him more joy was that the triple kill sword made a breakthrough during his time in Earth Core Palace. The triple kill sword was a magic weapon of killing which was produced according to the heart-killing sword. Because of Lung Rushuang, it had been upgraded to a first-grade magic weapon early on in the Nanyang continent. Subsequently, its power continued to increase gradually to the limits for a first-grade magic weapon thanks to Jian Wushuang's adventures in the Divine Land and participation in vicious battles, throughout which he killed many experts. The opportunity for a genuine breakthrough was brought about by the blood of the demonic beasts which Jian Wushuang massacred using the triple kill sword on the Skyfire Plains. Upon breakthrough, the first-grade magic weapon became a Dao weapon and doubled in power. The life-death duel should be starting soon, right? Jian Wushuang suddenly stood up and left the secret chamber. He started to make his way toward the venue of the life-death duel. In the bloodshed valley of the holy place. The place was so named because of the life-death duel. The Monster Exterminating League was an alliance formed by countless human experts, whose aim was to work together to fight against the demonic beasts. Although most of these experts were very united, there was bound to be a few internal conflicts and rivalries. Some of these rivalries could absolutely not be diffused, and only ended in fatal fights. It was for this reason that the League established the life-death duel. Any expert under the command of the League, whether it be a divine general or a divine emperor, could apply for a life-death duel if he had an irresolvable grudge which could only be settled in a fatal fight. The duel could proceed as long as the League's highest tier of experts approved. It would then take place right here in the Bloodshed Valley. A month ago, news percolated through the holy place that one of the 108 divine emperors, Emperor Golden Snake, wanted a life-death duel with a mere Saint Realm expert, shocking a large number of the League's divine emperors and divine generals. Today was the day of the duel. Many of the League's experts were hurriedly making their way to the Bloodshed Valley. Lofty mountains surrounded the large and vast canyon, in the middle of which, however, was an extensive space for two divine experts to fight without restraint. Moreover, behind the mountains was a powerful restriction. This restriction was said to have been set up by two temple masters. Although they used minimal effort, it was impossible to break in a short amount of time even by a superior emperor. At this moment, levitating around the restriction were numerous experts who were looking through the transparent restriction toward the Bloodshed Valley. There was already a figure standing frostily on a void in the middle of the Bloodshed Valley. He was none other than Emperor Golden Snake. Gee, it's Emperor Golden Snake, one of the 108 divine emperors. Although life-death duels regularly take place in the Bloodshed Valley, most of them are between two divine generals. As for duels between divine emperors, an expert of this level is too valuable to the League's strength to risk perishing in duels, and so the temple masters wouldn't approve of duels between two divine emperors unless absolutely necessary. Divine emperors are therefore rarely seen in Bloodshed Valley, yet we see one today. It's a pity that the other contestant isn't a divine emperor but instead a feeble Saint Realm expert, and that it was Emperor Golden Snake who proposed the duel. This Saint Realm expert should be proud of the chance to fight a life-death duel against Emperor Golden Snake. In my opinion, Emperor Golden Snake is just picking on the weak. Isn't it a clear case of bullying for a dignified divine emperor to challenge a Saint Realm expert to a duel? I don't understand what those temple masters thought when they approved of it. I heard that Emperor Golden Snake only proposed the duel because the Saint Realm expert killed his son. There was an incomparable clamor outside the restriction as the divine generals casually chatted with one another. Opposite them were a few dozen figures who quietly levitated in the air. These were the divine emperors who had come to watch the duel. Hehe, what a lively and crowded place this is today. Tian Wu, haven't you been hacking it in the monster territory? When did you come back? Elder Shu, you've always been this hermit creature that disregarded the outside world. Why suddenly the spare time to watch this duel? Fengxiao, I heard that you have quite a good relationship with Jian Wushuang, is that true? The divine emperors too engaged in leisure conversations. There were yet more figures present in the uppermost void. These people were the temple masters who held the leadership of the Monster Exterminating League. You're tuning in to the Celestial War YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories,